Hello, everyone. It's Serenity. I'm finally back with another video. So, what I was thinking about today was just kind of letting you into Jesus's life because a lot of people have all these preconceived notions about what he must have been like, especially since Christianity has actually gave him a personality that he truly did not have. So, what I want to do today is just kind of let you see into his world, what his life was truly like, because I'm pretty sure most people think that it must have been amazing for Jesus to realize his pre human existence and who he was. And that's not completely the case because with what he had to teach and when he realized who he was, that was actually quite a burden to him, believe it or not. A privilege, but also a burden. So Jesus wasn't what the people or the religious leaders were expecting. They knew a Messiah was coming, but what Jesus was not what they were expecting because they created an image in their minds of what a human representing God would be like. So they thought that this Messiah would accept what they accepted and reject what they rejected. But this wasn't the case with Jesus. Jesus was actually popular with social outcasts in society, like tax collectors, women, which were looked down upon in that day very badly, even more so than what we know in our day. Even some of those women were prostitutes that he would socialize with. There were lepers. There were poor people. There were non Jews. He would socialize, have meals with these people. Now, could you imagine? I'm just bringing it there. Any of the governing body members having a meal, sharing association with these type of people that Jesus willingly associated with. Just think about that. So Jesus touched the untouchable and he loved the seemingly unlovable. Tradition, traditions and laws did not matter when it came to showing true love and compassion to others. He spent time with those who needed him the most. He didn't let social status or cultural norms dictate his relationships with others. And another thing to note, he did not require people to change before having a relationship with them. He accepted them as they were because he knew that people could change from the inside out if they were shown true love and concern. Now, if you think about this, just the few things I've told you about Jesus so far, does this really seem like he would be the son of this God that's in the Hebrew scriptures? Because there are still some people that are just going to ride it till they die. That no, it says in the Bible that he represented the Father, so that has to be it. But here alone, it is showing you Jesus was nothing like that God in the Hebrew scriptures whatsoever. The God in the Hebrew scriptures, this rebel God, Jehovah, also known as Satan, showed none of these qualities that Jesus did. He was not accepting of other people, nations, even women, this God in the Hebrew scriptures. And it's very apparent in the Hebrew scriptures how this God felt about innocent people. He would kill them. Even children who had nothing to do with anything, he would kill. That is not Jesus's way because he did not represent this God. He represented the true God of love. Now, another thing, even with all of these qualities, which are good qualities, but Being loving and showing concern for people of all types was looked down upon in his day. Even though he had all these good qualities and literally being the most perfect person that walked this planet, he took some of the most criticism from all types of sources. I am going to read some scriptures to really let you see his life was not that easy once he was aware of his pre-human existence and started his ministry. So what I'm going to do is first go to Luke chapter 7 and verse 34. And that reads, this is, what they were saying about Jesus. The Son of Man has come eating and drinking. And you say, look at him, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. This is what they were saying about Jesus. Let's look at another scripture in Luke chapter 20, verse 1 and 2. And this one says, one day as Jesus was teaching the people in the temple and preaching the gospel, the chief priests and the scribes with the elders came up and said to him, tell us by what authority you do these things, or who it is that gave you this authority. So we see here that basically they were asking Jesus, who gave him the right to teach what he was teaching in the first place. So he was getting criticized by these people who only knew the traditional laws, and what he was teaching was not in alignment with that. So they asked him, who gave you the right to do this? Do you think that was easy for Jesus to hear time and time again? No. Okay, another scripture, John 1 and verse 11. And that reads, he came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. Once again, more rejection. Mark chapter 6 and verse 4. And this is Jesus speaking himself. He said, and Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his hometown and among his relatives and in his own household. So we see here the people who he grew up with in his hometown, his own relatives, and also his direct family members did not honor Jesus. They did not accept him. They rejected him. Do you think that was easy? For those of you who are being shunned by your own family members, guess what? Jesus went through the same thing. Yeah. But many religions don't like to bring this out. They kind of ignore this fact. So, one more scripture, just to really tell you how much Jesus' family rejected him. Mark 3, chapter 21. And it says there, and when his family heard it, what they heard is that Jesus was teaching this new gospel. It says, when his family heard it, they went out to seize him, for they were saying, he is out of his mind. Now, just from reading these scriptures, if Jesus was teaching a message that was even remotely similar to the norm of the religion of his time, why would he get such criticism and resistance from people including his own family, because his message was different, because he did not represent this God in the Hebrew scriptures, this God of the Jews. He represented the true God, and his life and actions reflected that once he was aware of who he was and his pre-human existence. So I'm going to link more scriptures in the description box as well, just so you know, so you can see where he literally had women around him all of the time. He ate with tax collectors. He didn't reject anyone, from the wealthy to the lowliest of the low. And this is the way of the true God. There are no biases, there are no differences. As long as you have a good heart and you're willing to display love, not just to yourself, but others, you are approved to the true God as her child, not a slave, not a servant, not a sheep, but one of her children. That's it. And for anyone who can relate Jesus and his actions to this God that's in the Hebrew scriptures, you're really fooling yourself. I know what I say in my videos is hard to accept, because just like Jesus, it is a message that most people are not familiar with, but it is the truth. And even though there is going to be resistance and people who hate the truth, it has to be spoken, period. But it's also why Jesus at times had to retreat and run away for his own safety, because that is how much some people hated him. Anyway, remember, if the most perfect man who walked this earth got rejected and had so much hatred, just remember that just the average person who gets hatred from others, especially those being shunned, you're actually following the example of Jesus, and you should be proud of yourself. All right. Keep speaking out. Keep doing the right thing. Love yourselves. Please keep healing. Remember, don't leave your house empty because you know who's going to inhabit if you do that. All right. I love you all. Take care. I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.